Thank you. We're just going to try to move on to the next panel so that we can be considerate of your time. So the next panel, hope you guys are here. We got basically every exciting company in the space. So we have Amdocs, IBM, got a lot of stars here, and moderating we got Yoav Evenstein.
Right behind you.
There you go. Awesome. All right, good luck.
Please have a seat. So this panel is dealing with one of the most burning questions today, which is how do I transform to an AI-driven business? We'll do a quick short of introduction. My name is Yoav. I'm a consultant on behalf of Microsoft and analyst at Remote. My forte is bringing R&D to life.
So my name is Ofer Razon, and I'm leading the business unit within Amdocs dealing with AI and machine learning.
I'm Dalit Naor. I'm from IBM Research. I work with the cloud platform of IBM. We bring innovation to the Watson data platform and to the infrastructure of IBM Cloud.
Hi, I'm Pierre Basséras, Business Development Manager from Paris Région Entreprises, which is the attractiveness and economic development agency for the Paris region. I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank you, Yoav and Business France for having me. Thank you.
Another French one, French-Israeli actually. Olivier Elbaz. I actually run the distribution for Salesforce in Israel. And I actually manage pretty much the go-to-market in sales and marketing and pre-sales for everything which is enterprise and commercials in the Israeli market.
Great. Thank you, guys. So before we start, I think it's a key point would be speaking about the transformation. It's not a project. There's no end date. It's basically a journey. You need to decide your undertaking. And we sometimes joke, say, once you go AI, you never go back. But a bit more seriously, quoting one of the greatest people on Earth and soon Mars, Elon Musk, you can't afford not to do AI just to stay in the game. I'm sure you'll agree. So with that, we'll jump to the first thing, which is learning, basically a derivative of intelligence. We as humans, we learn a lot. We digest the world relying on past experience. And for computers, this past experience is data. So with that key point, I want to throw it back to our panelists and ask, what are the key aspects for you referring with regard to data?
Yeah, so we absolutely agree. We see that. I think that the main thing for data is about making data available in a way that is also a timely manner. So in our space, we need real-time data streams. We need to pull them out of the systems in order to make them available. And then make sure that the data is organized in such a way and is meshed between your first-party and third-party data that is usable. Because we see many of our customers investing tons of money in building data lakes that act like soups and not lakes, which are not usable. So I think that by far making data available in a timely manner and with the right mesh, that's the key thing that we see as in that space.
I would like to touch on a point that was mentioned, I think 2 panels before that, which is regulation of compliance. Nobody wants to hear about it. But if we want to start this journey into AI and we want to prepare the data, we have to realize a few things. First, data is liability. Namely, there are so many regulations and rules around data that once you start collecting data, you have the liability. The second thing is that data is not enough. You want to do things with it. However, you will not be able to do everything you may want to do with data. The regulation and compliance, GDPR, for example, requires consent, which means that you may have the data, but you may not be able to use it because of other reasons. So start thinking about it from day one. And the third aspect, which is even more concerning, is the fact that regulation and compliance can create and generate a bias in your analytics, in your AI, which you didn't think about. For example, you may not be able to use some of the data which that belongs to people who did not give consent, or underaged people, or people from certain countries. So inherently, you introduce bias into any analytics and AI that you will be doing in the future. So my point is, start thinking about how the regulations and the compliance will affect the fact that you're collecting the data, the fact that you may want to use it, and the quality of what you will be doing with the data.
Great point, thanks.
I agree completely with what you said, so I thank you for your, I have the same point of view.
Okay, so speaking about data, I mean, if we put now regulations aside and privacy aside, I think the first thing to look at is what does it mean to transform to an AI business, and what is the value of AI to your business? So we at Salesforce look at it as what is the value that we bring when we build AI capabilities into most of the clouds that we deliver. So whether you want to improve sales, forecast accuracy, service, customer engagement, communities, marketing, customer journeys, commerce journeys, that's the first thing we actually look at. And what we do is we actually embed AI functionality to empower people to do things in a smarter way. So looking at the data itself, the first thing that we recommend that you look at is how you're going to structure the data. So between the world of unstructured data, where we actually team up with IBM, with Watson, to gather pretty much third-party data to improve CRM data, which is actually structured, we first want to look at how we're going to help you process that CRM data, that ERP data, and whatever the data is, in order for you to make better decisions. That's pretty much the purpose of transforming, your business with AI.
Those are all great points. Definitely agree with everybody. I think another key point that came up while we were conversing before the panel was that a lot of the customers are kind of running after data, which is outside the organizations. And a key point would be starting with the data you already have, structure it, build it, process it, and get it ready. And that already leads us to the second point after data, which is the actual infrastructure, the technology. So with all that data, you need the infrastructure basically for the data, but then you need also the higher levels, the algorithms, where do they run, the deep neural networks, what's the infrastructure supporting that? So with that in mind, I'd love to hear your thoughts on developing AI capabilities in-house and maybe even incorporating third-party.
Yeah, so it's a fantastic topic because we keep meeting people that think that they need to develop everything from scratch and they can do it themselves better than anyone. What we notice is that there's a big phenomena in the market, which we call that AI is being democratized. And the guys that are democratizing AI are the big players in the market. Salesforce, IBM, Microsoft, and others that invest billions of dollars in the last 20 years or so to develop these algorithms. And guess what? They're doing a fantastic job. So our approach is, and this is our recommendation for anyone, is to look at these capabilities that are available out there, take them and solve specific business problems with these capabilities. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Yes, you can probably do NLP in some languages a bit better than others, but don't invest your time there. And our approach is to take as much as possible from our partners, from the ecosystem, and invest really in applying the specific algorithms and the specific implementation to the specific business problems that we want to solve. And being specific is probably one of the key points in implementing AI in your business.
Being focused on what you're optimizing
exactly.
for.
Otherwise, you can just go totally wrong.
Great.
I wanted to add to how would you go about the mode of running such a platform. So there is definitely, I agree that the algorithms and the services should be consumed rather than reinvented. There is a lot of open source out there, which is also very, very important to use. Don't start from scratch. But then how to consume the platform? You can either go, public, to the public cloud providers. You can go to I would say a mid mode, which is managed. You get resources from the cloud, but then you run the software, the open source software or the software that you have developed. Or you can do it on-prem again with software that was gathered either from the open source or from big vendors, for example, IBM has it. And I would say that you can start with a public, but we all know that eventually it becomes very, very costly and very hard. So there are the other ways, and you can eventually get to the on-prem as well and use as much as possible open source and services out there.
So from a Salesforce perspective, so if there is any existing customers of Salesforce in the room, there's something which is not actually known, but speaking about AI and infrastructure today, since if you leverage a public cloud like Salesforce, and if you're a customers of ours in any of the clouds, whether it's the sales, the service, the marketing, the commerce one, well, you can just simply turn on the Einstein capabilities, which is the brand name to market AI, and in about 24 hours, Einstein starts doing predictions. So, which means pretty much the way you want to take that is you would look first of all as what is the use case that provides value to the company. So let's say you are a high-tech company and you want to do better predictions, you want to do better, I would say, lead scoring, or you want to improve your forecast accuracy or improve your sales productivity. So by just activating Einstein on your sales data, the systems in about 24 hours starts predicting and giving you insights. And I think that's the value. You need to first test, identify the use case, test what the AI is going to bring to your business. And once you have a proven experience, then you can just scale it to the entire enterprise. And that's the way we actually see it. Now, if I take the opposite way, let's say you're nowhere, you're a startup, and you're just starting from scratch, and you're building an amazing technology with an R&D in Tel Aviv, and you want to expand your sales worldwide, then here there's slightly a different thing. The paradigm is you don't have much data, so you need to capture some data from the market, you need to build your prospect file, and you need to build and market in order to fuel the CRM or the platform with data so that you can be able to consume from an AI perspective. So these are the two different approaches between an existing business and I would say a startup that is just starting to focusing on selling the services.
Great, thanks. Pierre? Okay, so I think those are all great points, and generally grounding the audience, we spoke about the data and then the technology. And another key question would be the actual workforce, the personnel, the people behind the machines making it all happen. And it brings us to the point of, if you look 2 years back, people kind of thought that data scientists are the kind of unicorn of the AI revolution, and they need to be proficient in the entire pipeline. And the teams I work with today, at least, are built in a kind of trifecta of data scientists supported by data engineers, which are then backed by the data analysts, who are basically your domain experts. So with that, I think the question today for the audience and how you transform and start the journey is, what is your take about the different positions? How do you develop the roles within your organizations, and how do you empower the people for yourself and customers?
Yeah, so we see 4 main roles, at least in our space, that are involved in implementing AI. You said the data engineers that need to fetch the data, prepare the data, make sure that the right data is available. By the way, they used to do that for years, but they need to be much more aware, and that's the big thing. People need to be aware to what does it mean, machine learning and AI, because the data engineer work will look different. It is changing in order to feed in the right data, not for just to implement a dashboard, which is important, but actually feeding the machine learning algorithms with data requires them to better understand the context of these algorithms, and that's one change. Then comes the data scientists and the people that deal with the algorithms that need to not just know the algorithms, but need to understand the business. And they need to work with the business analysts, those that understand the business processes, the business flows, which need now to better understand algorithms, because some of the decisions and some of the mindset need to be changed from a very rigid linear thinking into an abstract machine learning based analytical approach. And that's the third role that is changing, and we see this as a transformation. The last role, at least for us as a software company, are the developers, the Java developers, the C++ developers, those that need to embed these algorithms into the code, that need to be aware to this new type of code that runs under their software. So what we see is a mesh of these 4 roles that require to go through this transformation, both for us and for our customers, in order to really implement it in the right way, and not just as as an adventure that some algorithmic people trying to do something. All these 4 need to work together in order to get it done right.
Amazing.
So, just to emphasize what was said here, if you remember the myth that says that every AI project spends about 80%, and I think 80% is actually a lower bound. It can be much more. 80% of resources, time, cost, and so on, I would say, the data preparation. And the AI is only the remaining thing. So the most cost-effective way to develop your workforce is to make sure that you have the right people to shorten this and to make this part of the 80% or more better, more efficient, and so on. So my advice is, think about this part of the journey. Of course, you need the AI people, you need the data scientists, and so on. But if you take this 80% and make it more efficient by better developers, people who know how to use services rather than create their own, and how to deal with data, create schemes and so on, use platforms like IBM's platform, for example, for the data preparation better, then it will be very, very cost effective. And of course, the developers themselves, who can use the services to create the end-to-end application.
Yes, we are concerned a little about the shortage of digital or the data scientists, and I just want to emphasize France and the Paris region have been very active in AI research, both public and private. And so we have very good corporate laboratories, Criteo Labs, Orange, Sony, Rakuten, Huawei from China, Microsoft and Facebook of course, excellent academic research labs like Telecom Paris-Tech, INRIA, IRT System X, Lipsix, and we also have high-tech incubators with AI focus, so like Agoranov, Robot Lab, Incubaliance, Numa, Station F, which is one of the biggest in the world, Telecom Paris-Tech, and I also just want to stress that the French education system has always excelled in mathematics, and it's a critical factor in AI learning.
Interesting. So highlighting it back to the question, I think what you described is a full ecosystem, kind of growing the data engineers, the scientists, the analysts, and making it all happen in an entire ecosystem in France.
Right.
That's a nice approach.
Exactly.
And then focusing on data, and then kind of diverting from kind of DevOps to the data ops revolution. And I'm kind of curious to see what you have to say.
Yes, so the approach, so when we speak about AI, we speak about democratizing AI for every single organization, regardless of the size, regardless of the industries. We understand there's a huge shortage of data scientists, and this is why our vision when it comes to AI is actually to make AI available for everyone. So regardless of the fact that we can turn on AI capabilities in 24 hours, which means we employ data scientists, we employ data engineers that will build the algorithm of tomorrow and of today, and that scale it for the entire ecosystem of customers and partners that we have. This is our approach. However, if you speak about now adoption of AI within the enterprise, you need very strong data and business analysts to understand what is the AI value in transformation of your business. And second of all, you need to understand and plan ahead change management and user adoption, because if you don't do that, then AI powered, is going to simply be a failure for the business, regardless of the industry, regardless of the size of the company. So that's the vision that we have.
Great points, and you mentioned user adoption, which I think kind of it's amazing how our points kind of all intertwine. Already leads me to the last question. I think the whole main stage is a bit late, so we'll be brief with this last question. But I think besides the data and then the technology and the infrastructure and the ecosystem supporting everything, if we don't have the user on board with us in the process, be it the developers and the end users, it's not going to happen. So I'd love your take on it and how you found difficult situation and solved them with customers, whether it's in-house, dealing with this psychological aspect, kind of crossing the psychological chasm of adopting AI, be it the fear of AI is going to take my job, or just saying, well, I don't know if I can rely on those kind of results it's giving me in the recommendations, and I'm going to ignore it. So,
yeah, one of the earlier presentations, I think the Crowdflower CEO talked about human in control. That's key.
Man in the loop, yeah.
The man in the loop, the human in control. There are a lot of fears. We see that we brought some new products to the market, to customers that told us right before the launch, let's turn off the machine learning piece. We don't know how it's going to behave.
Yeah.
The key to go through that change is to make sure that people feel comfortable with machine taking decisions. And really, you know, if you think about this transformation, there's still a long way to go before machines will actually replace us and will do everything by themselves. And the fact of having the man in the loop and let people, the business owners, those that actually are supposed to rely on these machine learning algorithms and methods, let them be in control with the right reporting, monitoring, tuning capabilities. That's the key thing that also reduces the level of anxiety in order to adopt these great new capabilities.
Okay, so I think we have him already on stage, so just a one-liner.
Being very subtle here.
Yeah.
Can you tell him? It's like a subtle hint. No,
yeah. So just closing off the session, I think we'll give the panelists a chance to say a kind of one-liner. If you had one thing you could recommend the business looking to join our AI journey and start maybe their own, what would you say?
Be specific.
Great. Dalit?
Make sure that when you collect the data, you will be able to use it in the future.
Same thing, and in an ethical way.
Yeah, maybe one thing, think about what does AI means to your business, first of all, before doing anything.
Okay, so I think my addition to that would be one-liner, is that the enhancements comes not from AI replacing processes and automating, but from the enhancing coming from people and AI working together, making new things possible. That's what I kind of think is the revolution. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Round of applause. Thank you.